Hey girlfriend, this is my easy go-to summer quick makeup look that is sweat and waterproof. I'll be showing you step by step on how to do it, and it's perfect for those hot summer days where you really don't want to do too much, but you still want to look put together without the fear of melting throughout the day. All right, honey, let's get to it. So I already did my skincare routine, so I'm just going to go ahead and freshen up my face by using a little bit of the Charlotte Tilbury setting spray, the airbrush setting spray. So what this is going to do is rehydrate in the skincare that I applied earlier today, and also add an extra layer of waterproof, sweat-proof protection that you're going to need throughout the day. At this point, I usually would just go ahead and move on to my foundation. Since I have a little bit of texture going on, I have a couple pimples on the side of my face that is trying to make its exit. They've been here for a couple of days and they're about to, shimmy on out of here. So I'm just going to add a little bit of the e.l.f. liquid poreless putty primer right in the areas that I have like a little extra texture. I'm not going to add too much because I feel like outside of these two pimples, my skin looks really good. So the next thing I like to apply to give me like this glowy luminous skin is the Supergoop Mineral Glow Screen Soft Radiance Drop. Since I want like a more golden tone, like the summer glow, what I'm going to use is the shade Golden Hour. As for a foundation, I'm going to be using the Makeup Forever Super Boost Skin Tint. Mine is in shade 05. Just going to add a little bit right there. Now, when it comes to the Supergoop Mineral Glow Screen, I really like this because it's like a 2-in-1. Not only does it give you like that glow, that summer glow, but it's also a SPF 40. So you kind of kill two birds with one stone, so you don't have to add an additional SPF. Now, if you want to, you can if you feel like you need an extra coverage, but this has everything. Boom, you see that glow. Now, as for under eye concealer, I'm going to be using a YSL Radiant Touch. I really like this for the summertime because it's lightweight, but it still gives you coverage. I don't know about you guys, but when it is hot outside, even when I wear makeup, I don't want to feel like I'm wearing makeup. Like everything I'm applying is very lightweight. I don't want to feel like I'm wearing makeup. I might do it like late night, date night. I go ahead and do like a full makeup look. But during the hot summer days, okay, you guys can miss me with that. I feel like these products give you the coverage, will have you looked very much so put together. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and let this first concealer sit there for a little bit. Now I'm using shade 3 and 2.5. The shade that I applied first is shade 3. This one has a little bit more of a peachy tone to it, which is kind of like a color corrector for me. It is on a darker side, so it's kind of like a 2-in-1. Not only is it a concealer, but it's also a color corrector. So I'm just gonna go ahead and let that sit there for a little bit. To slick down my brows, I'm using the ABH brow freeze gel just to kind of slick them up and give them a little bit shape. And then I'm going to use my Makeup Geek brow liner in dark brown. Now this is discontinued. The entire brand is no longer selling makeup anymore. So what you can use is, honestly, my recommendation would be using the NYX brow pencil. Oh my goodness, one of my favorite brow pencils. And I'm just going to take the brow pencil and just lightly fill in my brows. I'm not doing anything too heavy. I'm going to focus in more on the tip where I do need a little bit more coverage, but the front part, not so much. I am going to keep this to the side just in case I need to fill in a little bit more as I continue to do my makeup. But I feel like this should be more than enough. I don't know, I may be speaking too soon. Now that the Radiant Touch has been sitting here for a little bit, I'm just going to press it in. So I like to use my Danessa Myricks brush. This one, it is the 3.0, I believe. The Yummy Face. This is the concealer brush. I really like using this for my under eye concealer because the way that the brush is shaped is kind of like shaped like a thumb. And I just really like that for underneath my eye. And I'm just pretty much just going to press that in. Not swiping, just press it in, girl. Okay, we're just going to press that in. Now to brighten up the under eye, I'm going to go with the 2.5. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and let that sit there for a little bit just so they can dry down a little bit and I can have more of the pigment. And while it's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and apply my blush. The blush I like to use during the summer is a liquid blush, and the one that I'm using right now is from Natasha Denona. It is the Puff Paint Liquid Blush Serum in the shade, I believe this is nude. It doesn't have the shade on the bottom of the bottle, so I'm gonna have to look it up and see like what shade. So for this look, I like to use like a nude blush. I still like to apply blush, but I like a nudie blush. Now if you don't want to, you don't necessarily have to do a blush. I just like a blush. And I'm just gonna go ahead and press this into the back of my hand just so that I can have a little bit of the pigment. I don't want it too potent. I'm just gonna apply it to the high points of my cheek. Y'all see how like it's a blush, but it's giving no blush, but it is a blush? Like, look at this side, no blush. That's why I like this blush. Like, it's so hard for me to find good blushes like this. And if I'm not mistaken, this is another one that's discontinued. But you know what? If this is discontinued, another liquid blush that I've really been loving, the Huda Beauty blush filter. Oh my goodness, this is like one of my go-to blushes. This one here is Cotton Candy. You could do any of them. Just apply a little bit of the blush. They do have one of the bronze brushes that Huda have is Latte. They do have another one, but the Latte is really nice for me. And another thing I like to do is apply a little bit of the leftover blush right here. Because you know, when you blush, you don't just blush right on the top of your cheeks. You blush a little bit on your forehead. And then you also blush like a little bit here on your chest as well. This is just pretty much whatever that's left over on the brush. Now that this concealer has set a little bit longer, we're just going to blend it out. Same tapping motion. We just want to blend it out. We don't want to swipe it away or move it around too much. We just want it to kind of like spread out on its own. So now we have all the creams on, then we're going to be moving on to the powders shortly. But before we do that, what we're going to do, because like I said, we're going to make this sweat proof. You want to apply a little bit more of the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Setting Spray. All right, honey, we're not trying to be melting out here. Like, y'all see how glowy and dewy my skin looking right now, baby? This gonna be you in a minute. This gonna be you. Kissed by the sun. Now we're about to move on to the powders, but before we do that, I'm just gonna take a little extra step. I like to use the L'Oreal Voluminous Primer as a mascara primer because I'm not gonna be using falsies today. Not in the summer heat. I don't know about you guys, but I don't mind a lash, but sometimes when you're hot and sweaty, a lash is the last thing you're thinking about. To give me a fuller, longer, natural lash, I like to apply a primer onto my lashes. And the thing is that when it comes to the primers, I've been doing this for years, and I've come to learn that you get more out of your primer if you allow it to dry down a bit before you add the mascara. So I like to apply my mascara like either at the beginning of my makeup routine or halfway through my makeup routine, just for it to dry down just a little bit before I apply the mascara. Now that we have all the cream products that we're going to be used for this makeup, we're going to go ahead and move to the powders. Now, before I move into the powders, I do like to take a little powder puff, aka piece of puff, and just press my makeup, and just to make sure that there's no streak, everything blended. We just want to make sure everything is blended. Okay, so now that we have no creases underneath the eyes, everything is blended, we're gonna take, I'll be using Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Compact Powder in the shade 4. I'm just gonna get some of that product on this powder puff. Okay, we about to be done with it. Now that I have it on the powder puff, I'm just gonna press some of that off because we're about to apply this under the eye. Okay, I like to use a pressed powder for under the eye. I feel like that it gives more of a set without later on having creases. I know a lot of people is afraid of doing this because it's been taught to don't put like pressed powders under the eye because it's more of a heavier formula than a loose powder. Let me tell you something. Everybody, at least majority of people, have small lines under your eyes, just the way that the eyes are made. Okay, mine is like that. Every family member in my family has those. It doesn't matter how old you are. We all have the small lines. This is natural. There's certain things that you have to realize what's natural and what is, I guess, occur with age. Lines underneath my, I like to call my lower lid, these little lines, those are natural. There's nothing I could do to get rid of them. They've been there since birth. Or if you have like fine lines or what they would call crow feet, I can understand how you would not want to apply a compact foundation all the way over here. I would just say apply it directly underneath the eye and stop. Then over here, what we're going to do is we're going to take a lighter powder, which is the Hourglass translucent veil. This one I really like, especially if you have normal to dry skin. This is my favorite go-to setting powder. Now we're just gonna take a brush. I like my brush to have a little tip on it. Get a little bit of that powder, and then you're just gonna press it in those areas that you feel like you have like the additional fine lines that you don't want to accentuate. I completely understand if that's a concern of yours. Put a little bit of setting powder right here where you applied the blush, because you do want that to set as well. I'm just taking a brush to just kind of sweep away any more of that compact powder that's underneath the eye. Now I know at this point you're probably like, oh my goodness, where all that delicious glow go? Like, it just disappeared. It's okay. It's coming back. It is coming back. I promise you. We're going to bring it back. But first, what we're going to do is add a little bit of bronzer. Now, the bronzer I like to use, I know y'all probably sick and tired of me. I'm sure y'all sick and tired of me using like discontinued things. But these are the things that I like. I'm going to be using the Smashbox Suntan Matte. Again, any its that are discontinued, please believe I will put it down in the description box of the item that I use and what I would recommend using in its replacement. And everything I recommend is something that I have used that I love, and honestly most likely will replace it with once I'm done with these items. Okay, so I'm just going to take a fan brush. This one's from MAC, and I'm just going to apply a little bit of bronzer in the areas where you would naturally be bronzed, areas where the sun would kiss you naturally. Now for the eyes, what I like to do is take a fluffy shadow brush, a little bit of, you can either do the setting powder or you can do the compact, and I'm just going to apply that on my lid just to add a little bit of powder on my lid before I apply the next shade. Honey, you don't even have to pull out an eyeshadow palette for this look, because we're going to use everything that we have right here. This is what I love to do when I'm lazy and I don't feel like pulling out everything, and I'm really just trying to look put together really quick and fast. This is what I do. The next shade that I'm going to use, I'm just going to take the bronzer, the same brush, honey. We're not changing it up or anything. We're just going to apply that on the lid. Now to give it a little bit of depth, right now it's just bronzy. There's not much depth. Now, since we are using like skin tints for the face, you really don't need to add a contour or anything like that, because you're going to see your natural contour. Now, if you want to add a little contour, maybe using a foundation that has a little bit more coverage and you want to add a little bit of depth back into your face, you can go in with a sculpting palette. This one, I like to use the Makeup Forever Artist Sculpt. I use Thrilled Chestnut. As you guys see, this has been loved. I don't even think I've had this for a year, and I've already hit pan massive. Oh, I'm gonna take a medium angle brush. I'm gonna apply a little bit of that Thrilled Chestnut right here at the peak of my crease. Not too much, just a little bit. The reason why I'm doing that is because I'm actually preparing to bring it down to contour my nose just a bit. Not too much, just a little bit. The same fan brush, because baby, we've been lazy with this. With the same fan brush that I use for the bronzer, I'm just going to take a little bit of the sculpting, and I'm just going to apply it right here and just flick it up. You don't want to flick it down because you don't want to bring the shadows down. You want to bring it up a little bit. I'm going to take a small smudge brush and apply a little bit of that contour shade right here on the lower lash line. I just want to add a little bit. I don't know, I just feel like my lower lid is a little naked. Okay, now that the powder's done, at this point we're done with the powders. We're going to go back with the setting spray. Okay, the same one that we used, and this is going to actually bring back some of that dewiness, that glowiness that we took away with the powders. Now at this point, if you want to apply a highlighter, you can. That's what I'm about to do. I don't know, I just feel like I need a little extra, you know, a little extra glow. Don't get me wrong, this is glowy, this is dewy right now, but I like to apply a little extra highlighter. So what I'm going to be using is the Fenty Beauty Demi Glow highlighter in Too Much. I'm just going to apply a little bit right here at the peak of my cheek. Right here at the peak of, not in my temples, but right here on the side of my forehead, kind of like close to the temples, but not quite. A little bit, whatever's left over on my brush, down the bridge of my nose. If you don't want to do this, you don't have to. I'm gonna apply a little bit right here on my cupid's bow. And baby, don't forget this step. Now this one, this one right here, I like to apply a little bit right here on my collarbone. Trust me, I see that. A little bit on my brow bone, not too much. Then I am going to take a pencil brush and just apply a little bit right here in the inner corner. Not too much. I'm not bringing it all the way into the lid. I'm just adding it right there in the inner corner. Take the brush that you used earlier for your eyeshadow, and I'm just gonna blend it because I don't want too much of a harsh line of where the highlighter begins and ends. So now we're gonna do a couple of final touches before we move on to the lips. So as for a mascara, I'm going to be using, I was going to be using the Too Faced Better Than Sex, but I'm going to switch it up. I'm not going to do the Too Faced Better Than Sex because Too Faced be flaking. I don't know if it's just me. Maybe mine's is just old. I don't know what's up. Even though I love the formula, I love the brush, but once it been on for a few hours, it begins to flake. And that's not the vibe that we're going for. So what I'm going to use instead is the Milk Makeup. This is the Kush Waterproof Mascara. Last thing you want is your mascara to be melting while the rest of your face is still intact. Okay, so we have the mascara on. Now for the girlies who like to wear lashes, if you're looking for like a more natural lash, these are my favorite lashes that I like to wear for a natural, like no makeup look. So the one that I love to use is Siren Flare. It has a clear band. Both of these have clear bands, but the Siren Flare, I love it. I love a good winged lash. Then the other one I like is also from House of Lashes. This shape is Macchiato, and it's part of their coffee collection. And what make their coffee collection unique is that all their lashes are brown. They're not black lashes. They're not harsh in your face. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit more natural, I really like these. You know, just to give you girls some options. Now I'm going to take the ABH Clear Brow Gel and just apply a little bit on top of my brows just to help dust away any of the powder that was applied to my face. You know, sometimes when you apply powder, your brows get a little dusty. So I just like to use this just to make sure that they're not. At this point, I'm just pretty much paying attention, looking to see if I need to fill in my brows again. Because once again, we've applied makeup. I'm just going to apply a little bit more to the tip of my brows. Not too much, not too heavy-handed. The face is done. We're about to move on to the lips. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe off this lip balm that I applied earlier, just to make sure that what I put on my lips stay and last all day. For the lips, what we're using is the Huda Beauty Lip Contour Lip Stain. I'm using the shade Toasty Brown, and just like this face is gonna last all day, these lips are gonna last all day as well. Now, I have really been loving these lip stains. I purchased two shades, Toasted Brown and then also Cinnamon, which is like a dark brown. It's more on a reddy brick brown, kind of like cinnamon. And I've really been enjoying these lip stains. Like, you don't have to worry about peeling them or anything like that. Once you apply it, they are set, honey. To top off my lips, I'm going to be using the Lawless Forget the Filler Lip Plumping Lip Gloss in Rosy Outlook. Now, if you feel like you need a little bit of extra protection, you can go with this, especially if you're more on the oily, dewy side. I would say set your face for the final time with the One Size Until Dawn setting spray. Now, if you have normal to matte skin, you can skip this step because you're not going to sweat through your makeup. At this point, you have like 3 layers of setting spray from the Charlotte Tilbury. But for the oily girls, or if you just really want that extra protection, go ahead and set it one last time with the One Size Until Dawn. Now, honey, you are locked in. You are set to enjoy your day without having to worry about your face at all. The most you might have to do is apply a little extra lip gloss, and that is it. All right, girlfriends, so you are all locked in. This is my go-to glowy, bronzy, summertime makeup look where I don't want to do too much, but I want to look like I did it all. So if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. Thank you all for watching, and remember, you're made for more. See you next time. That's all.